Now presenting
the RK Ultra Podcast,
Expanding Your Minds.
whether you want it or not.
Welcome to RK Ultra. Now, because we can't go 3 episodes without talking about aliens, we're going to be talking about aliens today, and the Pentagon or the subcommittee on U.A.Ps. You know, the recent whistleblowers that came out and talked about what the government may or may not have, according to alien biologics. And of course, we're going to talk about this subject. We're going to bring back Kristin, because we love to talk about aliens with Kristin.
I love talking about aliens with you. Makes me not feel so crazy.
Well, apparently no one is now. I mean, it's the hot topic. Thanks for coming back to discuss it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, I mean, I guess the big news is that a whistleblower has said that the government has had a multi-decade-long program to recover and reverse engineer alien craft. They don't really say alien. They say exotic craft.
They say biologics.
Non-human biologics.
Yeah, which could mean really anything, right?
Yeah, that's a cat, you know.
I think it's their way of just not being able to come out and say, yep,
Yeah,
it's all here. It's all been here. And it's funny because first episode I had here with you guys, we talked about aliens and we reviewed footage of a few different things. And one of them, which I think collectively it was our favorite, was the Tic Tac video.
Yeah.
And one of the pilots was actually was one of the whistleblowers. And I don't know, it just felt kind of vindicated to see that the footage that we watched our first time together here was just, it's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the way he describes it is like...
Yeah, and if you guys need a little background into what happened, on July 26th, there was a National Security Committee on the U.A.P. phenomena. It had 3 dudes that they were interviewing. It was David Grush, Ryan Graves, and David Fravor. David Grush was an U.S. Air Force officer, and he was the former intelligence official. And he was basically in charge of the committee that investigated UAPs and things of that nature. Who you're talking about is David Fravor, who he actually was the pilot who got to see and capture the Tic Tac footage.
That is correct. Yep, he was the pilot that was flying, and it was, 2004 over the coast of California. And, when you see something on the internet or, it's like Bigfoot, people are always like very skeptical and saying it doesn't really exist or it's not real or it could be fake footage or, whatever, like a homegrown video. But to actually be able to have the person that captured that to be able to discuss it, and really, if you didn't watch the congressional hearing, you absolutely should, because this is the first time in a really long time where both sides of the aisle came together and said, no, we need to discuss this as a group, and they really want to get to the root of this. They want to make sure that the American public is aware that there's definitely something, and I mean, it affects everything. I was reading a bunch of articles about it and listening to the testimony, and, it's, one of the largest groups to actually say that there are sightings or try to report it are everyday airline pilots. So it's gotten to the point now where it is so common and it's just being ignored by the government, specifically the Pentagon, that, you could be on a regular commercial flight and these pilots are seeing things and nobody's saying anything about it. That's crazy. That's crazy.
And that's actually exactly what the third guy was saying, Ryan Graves. He's the executive director for Americans for Safe Aerospace. Mm-hmm. So his whole shtick was, the pilots are even afraid to report this because they might lose their job or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And these things can actually be a danger to the aerospace, and they should actually be brought to light so that, the issue can be dealt with accordingly.
Yeah, I find it very strange that the Pentagon, what they're doing anyway, because they deny all these whistleblower claims. They say it's not true. Yet they were the ones that released the Tic Tac footage back in 2013. So, it just seems like a very strange way this is unfolding. Pentagon releases footage. Some of the people involved with it make claims. They deny everything.
Well, probably I think a lot of times what might happen is really horribly fake edited footage comes out and it gets the American population probably thinking like, oh, here we go again, like that's just a stupid video on TikTok or like some dumb video on YouTube, and then they actually take a real one and kind of like squeeze it in there just to continue to dispel the American public to make us think that that doesn't exist. Because listen, at the end of the day, like we've talked about many times before, it's my third time here, we always come full circle around to the same thing. They do know, they just understand that, you know, the American public, a large majority of it, I think, just really can't handle that. It's not information that, you know, we can probably handle. And I think because we are so I don't know what the right word is I'm trying to use, like, we're just so
disconnected,
desensitized, I think, at this point, with a lot of things that are going on, not just in the world, but specifically in our own country. You know, that there's like a funny thing going on social media right now where it's like Gen Zs or millennials are like dancing out in the front yard to like a funny song underneath a spaceship, and they're like, after all the shit that we've been through, aliens are real, who cares, I hope they take me. Like, you know, I think that we've just got so much thrown at us in our everyday life between politics and religion and sexual orientation and all of these real hot topics that are happening right now, you know, all over the place, that they just kind of like zing this shit in. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, we were just talking about, like, you know, a former president getting indicted, and now they're like, oh, P.S. side note, by the way, aliens are real. Oh, yeah. And then today, you know, like, there's something else. Like, let's just move on.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of it the wrong way, but it just seems like...
To me, it seems like it's like a nugget of truth for a distraction. You know? Like,
yeah.
Well, the timing on all this seems a little suspect to me. You know, like exactly like you said, former president being indicted, all kinds of other crazy things going on in the world. Not meant to mention Hunter Biden, and you know, I feel like that there's a lot of big news stories out there every so often. They go, let's give them just a little taste of the aliens.
But now we don't care.
Yeah.
Like there's 3 people on a panel that came forward and said, I've already been retaliated against in the workplace by the government that I worked for, just by even bringing this knowledge to them. And now that they're out and they're telling the public, like, I've just never seen Congress this joined and this unanimous on wanting to know the truth. Because let's not forget everything that we heard in those testimonies. Congress doesn't know either. They're in the dark. So the fact that congressmen and women on both sides of the aisle are literally coming together saying, like, no, we really need to get to the bottom of this, like, that's pretty remarkable and scary at the same time.
Oh yeah.
I love where this is going, and I love that they're giving us this information. It's just a lot of this information comes with very little evidence other than video footage or word of mouth, and that's just really my main issue with the whole entire U.A.P.
And even the information is vague. I mean, non-human biologics.
That could be a monkey.
But that's the most that they can come out. I mean, listen, this is as far as they've come. This is the first time that Congress or our government has spoken or had any type of meeting or committee or agenda or discussion, anything in 50 years about this.
Insane.
Don't forget, 50 years ago, the government came out and said, yeah, this is real.
And the timing is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're inching closer to figuring out our threshold of pain on what we can handle. That's really what it is.
I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like in another few months there'll be another nugget, you know, and then maybe they'll keep just slow dripping information out, you know, here and there. I don't know if they'll ever really tell us in our lifetime. I mean, hopefully at some point it's uncovered by whistleblowers, but like someone needs some real tangible evidence of this.
Well, then it's mass hysteria, though.
Yeah.
But still, like when you watch the Tic Tac footage, it's pretty amazing. You get to see that the oval-shaped object, it starts hovering over the water, and then it shoots up to 12,000 feet, and then accelerates like blips, like right out of range. Like they can't track it anymore, and then they pick it up a minute later, 60 miles away. That's still something that we can't do. They said it in the committee. The guy, David Fravor, who the commanding officer in the plane, said that we don't have that technology. We didn't have it then. We won't have it 10 years from now. And so, like, that's still a pretty interesting thing to think about.
Well, we have it, though, right?
I mean...
Didn't they talk about that?
Didn't they kind of say it? Yeah,
right, they said we have it.
Well,
and there's been an entire committee that's...
It doesn't mean that we've been successful in reverse engineering it, though.
Well, according to these guys, people have been actually
trying.
By both trying to do the reverse technology and by government people that don't.
Yeah, and it's like, you also got to think, what sort of compartmentalized research teams that other, declassified or classified people don't know about have this technology that they're testing and, aren't letting the other compartments know about. And we think that it's UFOs, but it's actually just science and technology that we have and that we've been keeping secret for a long time that, we just don't want to really give to the general public.
Yeah, that's a theory I've heard. You see, that's another thing that came out at the conference, that we were not the only government to retrieve crashed UFOs. That's basically what came out, too. So that means other countries would have been trying to reverse this technology probably for a very long time, too.
Makes sense.
And I heard someone say that, no, another government figured out how to reverse engineer some of this technology, and they're flying it around. And that's why we have to come out and say it now. That's like a theory.
Yeah, that's even scarier if it's not ours or aliens. If it's another country's
like
technology.
Like the Russians that beat us to space already?
Yeah, or the Chinese, who knows,
Weren't that... I don't want to get into conspiracy theory stuff. I was going to say, wasn't China and Russia just trying to get together on some aircraft carriers and do something off the coast of Alaska? And
I don't know. I didn't hear that, but it sounds terrifying.
No, they did. It happened. We sent out a few aircraft carriers, I think, to kind of like stop and say shoo shoo.
Yeah.
Weird.
I think what another interesting thing about this entire situation that really kind of drives it home is that the Pentagon is claiming that this is all false. They're not agreeing to any of this.
Okay.
Or basically any of it.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't really expect them to be like, yeah, no, it's real. We got you.
You got us.
Well, so far it sounds like they're like the only organization that doesn't want to admit that it's actually real. So that tells me that it's real because it's the Pentagon.
Yeah.
If there's any division of the government other than the IRS that I just don't really, I mean, it's the people that work in the Pentagon. I mean, those are the deep, dark secrets. That's the belly of the beast of our government. Right. At least in my opinion, it is.
That is true.
They're
involved in all the major conspiracy.
Yeah, no, it's one big bucket, and the Pentagon's the finger that stirs it up all the time. I mean, they're like...
That's why it's all one big game. They know. They're,
Of course they do.
They're probably told these guys, hey, come out with this information. Go to Congress. I wouldn't be surprised if they were under some sort of order to do it.
Probably.
It might be factual, it might be truthful information, but it's, I don't know.
I just can't get over how, like, the American public just doesn't care. We're like, yeah, sure, next.
Yeah. I was going to say that I find it really interesting that even some people don't even want to know about it. They're just like, oh, that's way too much information to handle.
Yeah.
And, like, I understand that it's kind of scary and terrifying, but wouldn't you rather be more aware of your surroundings and your situation instead of just I guess you could call it blissfully unaware of it. It still might exist, so it's like, doesn't that...
Sounds to me like you just described a wonderful litmus test of the American public by the United States government.
Yeah.
I mean, they're finding out really quickly, again, going back to that MK Ultra social media, getting drawn in and trying to get answers from us. I mean, what you described literally is a perfect way for your government or any government to introduce information to the masses after they've been completely rocked and desensitized and conditioned up until they come to this point with all sorts of other things. And now you come out with this, and it's really interesting for them to see, like, what you can handle and what you can't. Like, if there was a comet coming towards Earth and we were all going to die, they wouldn't let us know. They'd just let us shit the bed.
No, yeah.
They're not going to say anything. I mean, maybe in the 11th hour they will, because it'll just be martial law and mass hysteria. Yeah. But the same thing with the aliens right now. I mean, like, you have 3 very qualified people of sound body and mind coming forward to a group of Congress people saying that not only am I aware of this, but I'm a person that interviewed people, I'm an actual pilot, and I'm another person that was a pilot. Like, we were the people that actually came up with this footage. And to your point, again, some people are blissfully unaware. They don't want to know. They can't handle the truth. And those are the people that the government's like, okay, well, that's one group. Then there's, like, people like us who are just like, we're another group. Then there's the people that are kind of in the middle going, I don't know. Like, it all matters.
Yeah, no,
it all matters.
I would like to know, I think,
Oh, absolutely.
As terrifying as it is, I mean, you've to learn that you're an alien slave or something.
Well, there's one thing that I wanted to touch upon, because for some reason, everything that I heard and everything that I've read and everything that we've discussed, for some reason, maybe because we live in Florida and we experience hurricanes and we know how devastating and nasty they can be, right? So, whistleblower Ryan Graves said that during his tenure as a naval pilot, he and his team were regularly encountering aircraft off the coast of Virginia Beach, and those aircrafts had no visual propulsion, but could remain motionless in Category 4 hurricane winds, and could accelerate to supersonic and operate all day, outlasting any of our fighter jets.
That's insane.
No. None of that.
I mean, we live in Florida. We deal with we know the devastation of hurricanes better than anyone else. And to think that this thing's just chilling in Category 4 winds, like in the middle of a hurricane, and they're just like
doing some alien tourism.
Pew! That scares the crap out of me. That means like things can enter our atmosphere and poke holes in ozone layers and just show up whenever they feel like it. And that's crazy intense, like well advanced, not even anywhere near what we're capable of touching at this point. Like that's what scares me.
Yeah, I think that's actually probably one of the problems with them coming out. And like, if we have reversed engineered that technology, that stuff isn't running off of rocket fuel.
No.
Which means it has some sort of energy that's, way greater than what we know of. And if we have that energy, that means people lose their jobs overnight, millions of people, because then we don't really need electricity or gasoline or any of these. If we have something different that can power something like that, then that would shoot us forward so fast overnight.
Everybody who's already in power basically wouldn't be able to have that control that they had.
Mm-hmm.
They'd have to shift the entire way we operate our civilization.
Yeah, overnight, and that would be devastating.
That's really interesting, though, because I was watching a show about the Apollo mission, and there are some people that believe that a lot of astronauts actually have stepped forward, saying some of the older people are the original astronauts that went into space very early on in the program. Have come forward and said that there are aliens living on the dark side of the moon, and we know about it, and the government knows about it, and we have an agreement, and that is why we've only gone to the moon twice. And when the rocket, the LEM, is orbiting the moon and it goes to the dark side of the moon, you lose all radio contact.
Interesting.
Right? So, I mean, it's... If our government knows about it, they've known about it for a really long time. And if they know that we're going to lose natural resources and jobs because of it, because there's something deeper like you're talking about, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't know. There's just so much that's tied into it that just doesn't make sense, but makes sense.
I can't wait until they start releasing more of the footage from NASA of them in orbit, or any of the space footage that they've had to basically classify and delete audio for and stuff like that. So it'd be really interesting to see the UAPs and UFO phenomena out in space.
Correct. Because there's a few shows that are actually on Amazon Prime right now that you can check out about like those Apollo missions into the early missions. And Jim Lovell, who was one of the astronauts that was on Apollo 13, that really very tough and difficult journey that we all know about. Thank you, Tom Hanks. He's one of the astronauts that actually stepped forward and spoke about specifically the dark side of the moon. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen stories of someone who used to work for NASA who said that they actually, when they released certain pictures of the moon, they had to airbrush structures out of it.
Correct. There's actually a structure that's apparently on the cusp of the dark side of the moon. It's taller than the Empire State Building. It's like huge. I mean, there's stuff out there that you can research regarding this topic and how it relates to what's just happened now with Congress and those whistleblowers.
All right, now hear me out. Let's just say that none of this is real. It's all a huge distraction cover-up.
For what?
But the moon base and all the activity on it is still real. Are billionaires using the moon base as a getaway? To sort of get away from everything, the Earth, all of its laws, and everything.
Is the moon based in Epstein Island?
Is moon-based yet?
Oh, I was going more towards Dr. Evil.
Dr.
Or
Evil,
Dr. Evil
yeah.
activities.
I'd
Well,
rather that.
Hey,
Yeah.
what if the Independence Day theory is right? What if alien races really are just like people from Connecticut that are like locusts that come into Massachusetts to get the less expensive gas and groceries? What if aliens literally, or Californians that come to Nevada and do that? What if alien races really just do come to planets and rob us of our natural resources and the government knows about this? Maybe from the aliens that are living on the dark side of the moon, and they're like, hey, you should probably like chill and be friends with us, but the bad ones are gonna come at some point and deplete you, but you can come to the dark side of the moon. Like we'll give you a heads up, we just won't tell everybody.
I've always thought it was interesting hearing the theories that like there are alien races that will work with humanity that we have in like secret bases that are helping us with information and stuff. But there are other races of aliens that are like
gnarly.
That are gnarly and are here to really just cause, havoc and a ruckus.
That would really suck. Like Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, basically.
That would be rad.
I love Galaxy
I do
Quest.
too.
That
That's
was
a
great movie.
great flick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's scary to think that it's real. And I know that we talk about it all the time, but there's no denying it's out there now. It's out there.
There's definitely something happening, and
and
most people are unaware of what it is, if not everybody.
I suppose really what we should be thinking about is it's out and it's in front of us, but what do we do now?
What can we do? That's a great question. I mean, are they friendly? Are they not? And I think I believe that somewhere in that committee they said that they are probably not friendly.
Correct, they did.
Which, I mean, but again, if they wanted to wipe us out, they could. If they have that kind of technology, they could have,
Well, why do you think that they might not have already?
Fair enough. Yeah. How many generations of human civilization have we gone through that we just
we don't know.
We're not aware of? Like,
Really?
yeah, it's interesting.
It all comes full circle because every time somebody goes to dig something up to try to build a home somewhere, all of a sudden there's like another Aztec temple buried underground. It's like, how many times can we say that it was a comet? How many times can we say it was a volcano? How many times can we say it was an asteroid? How many times can we say it was an ice age? Maybe these are just not anomalies of Mother Nature. Maybe these are just things that have been happening to our civilization. Maybe we're an experiment and we're just not getting it right.
Ooh.
I mean, this is the farthest that the human race has ever come in technology, and I understand that we grow day, week, year, decade, century. It's all evolving, and we're slowly getting smarter, but we're still not unlocking 10% of our brain capacity. So for whatever reason, whether it's nature, whether it's divine intervention, whether it's on purpose, we're only moving forward. Maybe we're only moving as forward as something or someone is allowing us to.
Possibly. I know for sure that these UAPs do not like nuclear activity.
Well, no, I mean...
Or weaponry.
Well...
They're always based around these nuclear hubs and everything like that,
Yeah.
always doing research on that. So they're definitely, if they are extraterrestrials and they are helping guide humanity along, I'd like to believe that they are concerned with nuclear activity. Because that is very destructive stuff.
Maybe that's the only thing that we have going for us. Wouldn't it be funny if we, as the human race, were the only ones that could understand nuclear power, and the aliens just like can't get it? Like they can get everything else.
They were like, what?
Yeah. How'd you do that?
Whoa.
That's crazy. They're psychotic. They blow up whole cities. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like maybe they're coming to ask for a cup of sugar when it's really just a nuke. I don't know.
Cup of plutonium for your neighbor.
All I know is I don't know what's next, but I can only imagine what else they're going to lay on us because this is just the beginning.
It's only going to get weirder. It only has gotten weirder ever since COVID. Everyone thought that the world would go back to normal.
Yep. But they admitted it during COVID, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they initially laid the groundwork in the 60s, right? That was like the initial, like, no, it's not. It's like, it's like they're like creeping out behind a bush all the time. They're like, yes, I am. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But they came out with some stuff during COVID too, and that just like flew by everybody because we were in a global pandemic.
Yeah. No one was paying attention.
You know, it just always seems like something weird's going on in the world when they decide to like leak this stuff out.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know, just what's next?
Yeah, I just encourage everybody to really just do their own research into this phenomenon and gather your own conclusions and not really let the government or anybody else tell you what you should think.
Yeah.
Because I think that's very important because a lot of people could use this information to control the masses. And I'm sure there are threads of truth from it, but I'm sure there is just as many lies being told to try to manipulate you.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we can't be so self-centered as a race to not really to believe that we're the only thing that exists in our universe, because if you really think about, Earth or even just like our galaxy, from the little that we even do know about outer space, I mean, we're just a blip on humanity wherever else it may be, I mean, we haven't, it's kind of, I'll leave you with this. We still have not explored a fraction of our ocean because we've been unable to, but we've explored space more.
Yeah. No, it is a lot out there that we don't know, and I can't wait to find out, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And we'll be here ready to analyze it.
Yeah, just go into it with an open mind. That's another thing to encourage people. When you watch the whistleblower footage, just have an open mind, listen to what they have to say, because again, our Congress is really that interested in getting the truth out. So if they've got a concern and they're kind of sweating a little bit under the collar, it might make a believer out of some non-believers, and that's okay. Maybe it's time.
I agree. And if you have any stories about UAPs or any thoughts about the UAP committee, leave it in the comments below. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at RKUltraCast.
Or find us at www.rkultra.com.
So follow us, because we'll be following you. Thanks for coming, Kristin.
Thanks for having me.